But Nasser Hospital is one of the pretty much the only functioning hospital currently. I think it's the only place where there's a running CT scan, and with other specialties available, surgery and whatnot.
And I'm going
Um,
to pause you right there because when we say the only functional, this is also a hospital that has been severely damaged. At one point, it had 700 patients, and it's just been severely targeted. And also, there's mass graves discovered there before you got there. And so, just for our audience
Absolutely.
knows, when we talk about functional hospital, this is a place that has been through the absolute ringer already, been attacked several times. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up because I use that term functional very loosely. This is a place that was actually under siege in February and March, and this is when many of the healthcare workers were either killed or taken as prisoners. So many of the specialists and the attendings, the senior staff was removed from there. And, as you mentioned, it's partially functioning, which is not very much. The volume at Nasser Hospital is 1,700 patients a day, just in the ED.
Jeez.
Miles, you and I both have been working in the US. That is an impossibility. Even in the busiest ER, that would never happen. That volume is just too much
By
for one hospital.
comparison, yeah, where I trained in Queens, New York,
Hmm.
one of the highest volume hospitals in the country, if we hit 400 patients in a day, it was remarkable.
Right, exactly. And these are not like very low acuity patients we're talking about. We're talking about major trauma. That's the norm there is that's what you're seeing, mass casualty incidents. And you asked me what's one patient that you still remember? Well, there's several, but one I do remember, it was during a mass casualty incident. But when I was there, there were several evacuations. I think I lost count. But during evacuation, the day we arrived, in fact, was an evacuation day, and it is just utter chaos. The streets are filled with people with like no shoes on. They're just literally, they have their stuff and they grab their children, their things, and they're just walking to the next place that they're supposed to be. And just to so people and your viewers can understand how small this space is. I believe Gaza Strip is about the size of Manhattan, right? The entire before everything. There's 2.1 million people there. When I was there, only 9% of the Gaza Strip was a safe zone. So that's like, I can't even imagine like just the proportions there. So there's people everywhere. We get there that day. There's so many people that our UN convoy, we could barely get through because there's just too many people. There's just a sea of people. So one of these days that there was a mass casualty was during an evacuation, and in the area around the hospital, just right outside the gates of the hospital, which is a safe zone. A man and a few others ran into the emergency department carrying this child, and laid him on the floor because there was no cots at that time, because there was a mass casualty incident. And I remember this child because he's about 2.5, 3 years old, the same age as my child, my son, and looked so similar to my son. But he just laid him down and said, I found him on the ground, and I saw a car run over him. And this man was devastated. He said, a car ran over him. There's so many people, I don't know where he's from. I don't know who he is. Well, he laid him down, and I saw 2 wounds in his head, 2 separate wounds, right in his skull. And, later his mom came running in and crying and saying, someone said they brought my son to the ER. And she said she saw a quadcopter and heard shots. And by the time there's so many people, she lost track of where he was. And this child had 2 shots. And no, did we send him to a CT scan? No, he was dead on arrival. But he was, it was just a baby. And it's just those images, those stories that it's just so unnecessary. A 2-year-old away from his mother in the sea of people and, got shot at. What are we doing here? What's happening? It just made me, and I don't cry at work. I've seen a lot of trauma, but when these type of things came in, it's impossible to understand, to comprehend. And like Miles was saying, to have words for something like this, that level of just inhumane acts. So and there were so many like that. I can't even, count all of them. Yeah, I have just a glimpse on my iPhone of the things to try to remember for medical
Yeah.
purposes, the type of things that we saw.
Do you get a sense these sniper wounds that a lot of doctors are reporting, saying to the chest and the head, is that appear to be snipers or like the drones that go around and precision target people, or
Yeah,
what's?
that's a great question
Yeah.
because I think it's different when each physician went. I know that they mentioned, some of the other physicians that went before me mentioned snipers, and every time patients came in a mass casualty, we never heard that. We heard quadcopters, we
Okay.
heard drones, and those were the witnesses saying that.
And what are
We have.
quadcopters exactly?
So I didn't know what this was either. I had to actually look it up because I never heard that before. But they're essentially drones that fly overhead and that are able to shoot.
Okay.
So, and from my understanding, they look, and what the pictures that the parents have shown me or the witnesses have shown me, they look like small helicopters, basically.
Okay.
So that's what we saw there when we saw those single shots, to the head or the chest or the arteries and such to the neck. Um, for me, they were quadcopters, and so they were shot from a distance. But yeah,
Okay.
like I said before, I think the situation was different. The area where the other physicians were practicing at the time, it was different, and it was a different phase of the war.